ولا شبيه ولا مثيل له ولا ضد ولا ند ولا جسد ولا صورة ولا أعضاء له. كان الله ولا مكان، فهو الآن على ما عليه كان. فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال، ولله المثل الأعلى. تنزه ربي عن الجلوس والقعود، وعن الحركة والسكون، وعن الاتصال والانفصال. لا يحل فيه شيء ولا ينحل منه شيء ولا يحل هو في شيء، لأنه ليس كمثله شيء. مهما تصورت ببالك فالله لا يشبه ذلك. ومن وصف الله بمعنى من معاني البشر فقد كفر. وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وقائدنا وقرة أعيننا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله ونبيه وصفيه وحبيبه وخليله، أرسله الله هدى ورحمة للعالمين، هاديا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا وهاجا وقمرا منيرا. اللهم صل وسلم وأعظم وأنعم وأكرم على هذا النبي الكريم سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين، كلما ذكره الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا عظيم الجاه. I praise Allah, I glorify Him, and I thank Him for all the blessings that He gives without Him being obligated to give anything. And I ask Allah to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to protect his Muslim nation. I testify that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe, and nothing in the universe is like Him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because He is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne, and He is not attributed with fatigue like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to Him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes an attribute of the creations to Allah is outside of Islam. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah and His final prophet and messenger, sent to all humans and jinn, and He is truthful about everything that He conveyed in the revelation. Thereafter, remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending this session of Islamic knowledge, because having the sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, he has to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah to get reward for that good deed. The reward is defined as the compensation that the Muslim receives in the hereafter for the good deeds that he did in this life among what makes him happy. An example of the reward that is guaranteed to the righteous Muslim in the grave is that his grave is expanded approximately 105 feet by 105 feet, and his grave is illuminated with a light similar to the light of the full moon, and the fragrance of paradise will be present in the grave. The sincere intention means for the Muslim to do the good deed seeking the acceptance of Allah only and not the praise of the people. So alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah that we have been guided to Islam, because Islam is the greatest endowment, because Islam is the only true religion, because Islam is the only valid religion, because Islam is the only correct religion. And the proof for that amongst many ayat in the Quran is Inna ad-deena 'inda Allahi al-Islam, which means the only accepted religion to Allah is al-Islam. And in the same surah, in Surah Al-Imran, another ayah, وَمَن يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَن يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ, which means, and whoever seeks a religion other than an Islam, it will never be accepted from him, and in the hereafter he will be among the losers. He will be among those who dwell in hellfire forever, and those are the biggest losers. So we are grateful and thankful to Allah for Islam. And we are grateful and thankful to Allah that we have been guided to the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, which is the saved group. Just as the Prophet ﷺ has explicitly informed in the hadith that tells us about the 73 sects. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَإِنَّ أُمَّتِي سَتَفْتَرِقُ إِلَى 73 فِرْقَةً كُلُّهَا فِي النَّارِ إِلَّا وَاحِدَةً وَهِيَ الْجَمَاعَةِ. And in another narration, it those who have my creed and the creed of the companions, مَنْ كَانَ عَلَى مَا أَنَا عَلَيْهِ وَأَصْحَابِي. So these three narrations and their confirmed chains, they tell us that the majority of the people who identify as Muslim, that they all have the correct creed. The majority. So if you look at a demographic and you see that there's X amount of people that say about themselves, I am Muslim, the majority of those people, they have the creed that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came with and that the companions were upon. And those who have a different creed, then they are part of the minority, that means they're misguided. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that there would be amongst those who identify as Muslims, that they would split up into 73 groups. All of them would be in hellfire except for one group. And when the Prophet ﷺ described that group, he said the congregation, he said the vast majority, and he said those who have my creed and the creed of the companions. So these narrations put together, they tell us that if there is a group of people that they claim to be Muslim, let's say at a certain period of time, like let's say in 2024, if you do a statistical analysis of that number, the majority of them, the larger percentage, they will have the same creed. And then the minority among them, they would have a different creed. And so they would be deviated, of course, and the Prophet ﷺ said that they would be in hellfire. So they'll be in hellfire because they deviated from the creed of Ahlul Sunnah. So we are grateful and thankful to Allah that we have been guided to the creed of Ahlul Sunnah and to the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah. Because the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah is the key to paradise. The knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah is the life of Al-Islam. So continuing on with the tafsir and recitation of Surah At-takweer, we got to ayah number 6. But for now, so we'll do a little review we'll do the call and response recitation up until ayah number 6. So I'm gonna say the isti'adah, and then you say it. I'm gonna say the basmala, and then you say it, and then I'm gonna say the first ayah, and then you say it, and so on and so forth until we get to ayah number 6. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت. So that's ayah number 6. So like we mentioned, we said when we started, when we were doing the tafsir of Surah An-Naba, we said that the idol worshippers of Quraysh, one of their main blasphemies, and one of the things that they disbelieved in was Judgment Day. And so they would make fun of the Prophet ﷺ for teaching and reminding them and warning them about Judgment Day. So those idol worshippers, they thought to themselves that it's far-fetched that a person, after becoming bones, that they would be resurrected. And so they felt that that was beyond, or that's too far-fetched, or that it's a reach. It's something that is not going to happen. So they disbelieved in it. They thought that you just die and there's nothingness, and that's it. You're just in your grave and you're nothing. Which of course is not the case. So the Prophet ﷺ, a lot of verses were revealed to him that prove and show that Judgment Day is something for sure. Because in order to be saved from going to hellfire forever, the accountable person obviously has to be Muslim, and among the things that they need to be Muslim is to have the correct creed about Judgment Day. I mean, to know that Judgment Day is for sure. To know that Judgment Day is true. That this is something that is going to happen. And therefore, the intelligent Muslim prepares for that. When there's something inevitable, and for example, you know ahead of time that this is the thing that is going to occur, the intelligent Muslim, he will prepare. And so we all know that we're going to die. Nobody denies that. We all admit that. And so it's befitting of the Muslim to prepare for that moment when he leaves the earth, which is also it's a surprise moment. It's something that can happen at any instant. So the Muslim, the smart Muslim, he would be preparing for that moment. So these ayat from 1 through 6 of Surah At-takweer, this is talking about some things that will occur on Judgment Day. So leading up to verse number 6, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, it means when the sun is wrapped up. Yani this is the short meaning. The in-depth meaning is that the sun loses its light and becomes dark. The scholars of tafsir said the sun will be gathered, wrapped, and thrown into hellfire. Like we mentioned before, this is to further humiliate the idol worshippers who worship the sun, Hell, the sun is going to be in hell with them. Is going to be in hell with them. Verse number 2, وَإِذَا النُّجُومٌ كَدَرَتْ. It means that when the stars scatter and fall, they scatter, drop, and lose their light. وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ. The mountains will be wrenched out from the earth and leveled, as earth was first created without mountains or valleys. Yani, so the people, they would be there would be nowhere for anyone to hide. The people, they would not find any shade. The people, they would not find any shelter. The people, they would not be able to hide from the things that are going to be occurring on Judgment Day. And so that's why this imagery is being mentioned in the Quran, so that the people understand and know the severity of the severity of preparing, or of not preparing for Judgment Day. So the person should take the concept of Judgment Day serious, in the sense that the only thing that's going to be presented on Judgment Day to that person are their deeds. It's what they did, and not anything else. So this is the objective of these ayat, in order for the people to understand, and so those idol worshippers, so that they would have the fear in their hearts, so that they would repent. Verse number 4, وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ, means when the 10-month pregnant she-camels are abandoned. And of course, they're mentioned because they are very precious to their owners. And so they'll be abandoned, meaning because nobody is going to be concerned about that at that moment. They are overwhelmed by other matters. Verse 5, وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ, which means that when the beasts are herded. So the beasts, referring to the animals, what we call animals. So of course animals, they have souls. Animals are alive. Animals, they feel pain, they feel emotions. However, animals don't have a mind. That's what makes them different from us. Animals, they operate on instinct. So they're programmed in a specific way, and they're specified in a specific way to follow their instinct, and that's how animals live. So we're different from the animals in the sense that we have the sound mind, we have the intellect, we have the reasoning. So that's what separates us from animals. Animals, they don't have intellect, they don't have reasoning. They have souls, they feel feelings, but since they don't have minds, they're not accountable. But they will be resurrected on Judgment Day to take their due from one another, after which they will turn into soil. So there will be no animals of earth in paradise or in hellfire. They will all be turned to dust. Because although the beasts are not accountable for their deeds, why are they resurrected? So that one can take his due from another. This is to elucidate and highlight and demonstrate and emphasize the justice of the Creator. And so this ayah can also be used as proof that the animals have souls. If you ever heard someone, and he's speaking supposedly in the name of Islam, teaching that animals don't have souls, then that person obviously is contradicting the Quran. So now moving on to ayah number 7. Oh no, we're going to do ayah number 6. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ, which means that when the oceans completely dry out, and the water of the ocean will be gone without any drop left. Now verse number 7, so I'm going to recite it and then you repeat. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ which means that when the souls are paired. So the man among the people of paradise will be wed to his equal, and the man among the people of hellfire will be wed to his equal. And this meaning is also reiterated in another ayah, in ayah 22 of Surah As-Saffat, which means assemble those who committed injustice, yani kufr, along with their spouses. So it's the people that were alike in their deeds. Two men doing the deeds that make them enter paradise or hellfire, the sinner with the sinner, and the pious with the pious. Verse number 8, same thing. I say the ayah, you repeat after me. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ سُئِلَتْ Now, and when the female infant who was buried alive is questioned. Now, of course, this refers to the abhorrent practice of the people of the ignorance era. The Arabs, during the time of the ignorance era, they had a horrific and ugly custom, which is that they used to commit a certain type of infanticide, burying alive the newborn baby girl. Not all the Arabs did it, but it was something that the Arabs did, or some among the Arabs did, which they was like a part of their culture. So the man preferred to kill his own female infant out of fear that she might be disgraced if captured in a raid or sold into slavery, or out of fear of poverty. The honorable people at the time, they refrained from such a practice and stopped others from doing it. So there were some Arabs that were against it, but still it was something that was done amongst them. So there is an origin story to this practice, which is, as you know, that the tribes, the Arab tribes, before they were united under Islam, they were warring with each other. So they had feuds, they had they had conflicts with each other that they resolved through fighting with swords and physical combat. And so obviously this would extend for a long period of time, and then so sometimes the enemy tribe, they would raid another tribe and they would capture. And so the daughter of a chief of a tribe was captured in a raid, and they demanded for her to be returned. And they went together, the enemy tribe who had captured her, they met up with the chief of the tribe and they told him, let's let her choose. And so the chief of that tribe, he was confident that she was going to choose to go back to her people, but she had fallen in love with the prince of the enemy tribe, and so she chose in front of everyone to stay with the enemy tribe who had basically kidnapped her, but because the prince wanted to be with her, etc. So that chief of that tribe, he was, in that context, disgraced. Because this is his enemy, and his enemy now took his daughter, and she wants to stay with the enemy. So this is how they were thinking, obviously, because this is the Jahiliyyah, the ignorance era mind state. So he took that great offense to that. So he vowed to bury his newborn daughter. If he ever had a daughter, he would bury her. Na'udhu billah. So this is, of course, something that is prohibited in Islam, and Islam basically spoke against it and dispraised it, and tried to get people to stop doing it. And of course, the Muslims wouldn't do that. But this is like something related to the society that was being preached by Islam. And so the people, they would benefit from that, if they followed that. But so this ayah is referring to when that newborn baby girl is resurrected on Judgment Day, and she's asked, what happened to her. She's asked about her situation. And this is among the things that will occur on Judgment Day. So the significance of her being asked is to severely reprimand the doer of such an abhorrent deed. Because remember, we said on Judgment Day, it's the day when accounts will be settled. It's the day when the people, those who are owed rights, they will get their rights fulfilled. And those who did injustice and who lived in tyranny, they will get what they deserve. They will get their punishment for the injustices that they committed. And remember, the biggest injustice is to be a non-Muslim. The biggest crime, the biggest evil is to worship other than the Creator and to not believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because you cannot be a Muslim with just one. So if someone says, I only worship Allah, but I don't believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then such a person, they would be a non-believer. They would be judged by Allah as a non-Muslim, and they would, if they die that way, they would go to hellfire forever, and they would never have any mercy. Because you have to believe in Allah, the Creator of the universe, and His Messenger. And by believing in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the person has to believe in all the prophets that came before, because that's among the things that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he taught. When Angel Jibreel alayhi salam came to him and he asked him, what is Islam? And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam answered him, and then there was a crowd of Sahaba, the companions, so they had to teach them. And so when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam answered him, then Angel Jibreel, he asked, what is al-Iman? What is belief? And he said, to believe in Allah and His messengers and His books and His prophets, etc., and in Judgment Day, and in destiny, and that everything that occurs in this universe, whether good or evil, is by God's will. That means those are amongst the most important integrals of belief. If someone rejects one of them, then that means they're not Muslim. So among the things that are mentioned is to believe in the messenger. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he taught the companions that they have to believe in Prophet Isa alayhi salam. They have to believe in Prophet Musa alayhi salam. They have to believe in Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. All the prophets that came before him. And all the prophets that came before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they told their followers that if they ever live to the final days, to the end times, and they meet the Prophet of the end times, that they have to follow him. And they mentioned him by name, of course, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Verse number 9, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ, which means for what sin was she murdered? So this is a narrative of the statement with which she would be addressed. Her reply would be, I was murdered for no reason. By this, the abhorrence of the act stands out, and the evidence against the murderers would be clearly exposed. Verse 10, وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ, which means that when the journals are spread open. So the angels, they have journals with them. They record the good and the bad deeds of those concerned. And so we have angels with us. Every single individual human being has angels with them that record everything that they say or do, and everything that they actively think about, but because Allah reveals it to them. Because no one knows what's in the heart except Allah. And when the person goes into the bathroom, those angels, they don't enter the bathroom, but Allah reveals to them what occurs inside. So they just record. They record everything. So if you're by yourself and you're writing something in a notebook, or if you're texting, or if you're actively thinking about something, all of that is recorded. So that recording, what those angels wrote in their journal, when the person dies, it's closed, because that's it, that's the end. And then on Judgment Day, they're spread open. And each person is going to have his deeds presented to him. He's going to see in the journal, and he's going to have his journal, he's going to see everything that he did. This is why the smart, intelligent Muslim, he thinks in terms of that. And he thinks in terms of every single moment, every single second that he's being recorded. And that will be, depending on the type of thing that he does, will either be in his favor or against him. Verse 11, وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ. It means that when the sky is torn away, the sky will be wrenched out, as in wrenching out the roof of a house. Have you ever seen like the footage of a hurricane or a tornado? It's a strong wind, and then all of a sudden the roof peels off. Something similar to that is going to happen to the sky. The sky, when we say the sky, is referring to the heavens, the seven heavens. And each one is a physical structure that has an entrance, that has an exit, and it's in a place that's inhabited by angels. There's no space of 4 fingers in that heaven, or whichever particular heaven it is, except that there's an angel in it worshiping Allah, praying, in the process of praying. So it's dense with angels. The skies are dense with angels. There's another narration for this ayah. Another way to recite it is with a qaf instead of a kaf. So the final word in the ayah is kushitat, which is with a kaf. And some reciters recite it with a qaf, kushitat. So they would have a similar meaning. But that just shows you the versatility in the different recitations. How the Quran was revealed. All those are confirmed through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not like people made up these variations. No, that's how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught it, with the variations. Verse 12, وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِّرَتْ. وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِّرَتْ. Which means, and when hell is kindled. At such time when the blazing fire of hell, which is already lit, is fervently fueled. And as-sa'ir is the blazing and fervor of the fire. If you ever seen like a strong fire, that's the blazing aspect, the fervor of the fire. It's confirmed in the hadith narrated by At-takweer and Ibn Majah, from the route of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said that the fire of hell was fueled for 1,000 years until it became red, then 1,000 years until it became white, then 1,000 years until it became black in color, and now it is pitch black. أوقد على النار 1000 سنة حتى احمرت ثم أوقد عليها 1000 سنة حتى ابيضت ثم أوقد عليها 1000 سنة حتى اسودت فهي سوداء مظلمة. And those are the terms that are narrated from the route of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu with the confirmed chain. So this is something that can also be used as evidence to prove that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam received revelation, to prove that he indeed is a prophet, because this categorization, this level of the fire changing as it gets hotter and hotter, it was something that was only recently discovered, and within the last century, with using labs and experiments and things like that, they discovered that at a certain temperature the fire is red, at a certain temperature, at a certain higher temperature it's white, and then at a certain higher temperature and if it gets to that point it'll turn black, and they mentioned that it cannot be extinguished after that. And so that's the case with the fire of hell, it will never be extinguished. Verse 13, وَإِذَا الْجَنَّةُ أُزْلِفَتْ, which means that when paradise is brought nearer. So referring here to when paradise will be brought closer. And when the time of their entry into it and looking into paradise becomes near. And some said that they will be brought close to paradise while it remains in its place. So, and the meaning is, and some said it's referring to when the time that the people are supposed to be in in paradise, the time that they will be entering into paradise is getting closer. And so now, since we're talking about Judgment Day, we're talking about the confirmation of Judgment Day, that the idol worshippers, that they did not believe in Judgment Day, that they thought it was far-fetched. All these things are mentioned about what's going to happen on Judgment Day. The sun losing its light and being thrown into hellfire, the stars scattering and falling, the mountains being pulverized, the beasts will be herded, the baby girl who was buried alive will be resurrected and asked, why was she killed? For what reason was she killed? Etc. All these things happen, and so then these next ayat are the consequence of the condition that was started in the first ayah. When the sun gets wrapped up, which means when the sun gets wrapped up, and the conditions stated in the ayahs joined to that first verse by conjunction, عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا أَحْضَرَتْ. عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا أَحْضَرَتْ, which means then each soul shall know what it had prepared. So when you take all the ayat together, starting from the meaning of number 1, when the sun is wrapped, and when the stars scatter and fall, and when the mountains are set into motion, and when the 10-month pregnant she-camels are abandoned, and when the beasts are herded, and when the oceans completely dry out, and when the souls are paired, and when the female infant who was buried alive is questioned, for what sin was she murdered? And when the journals are spread open, and when the sky is torn away, and when hellfire is kindled, and when paradise is brought near, then each soul shall know what it had prepared. And when all those things happen, which is on Judgment Day, then each soul shall know what it had prepared. And each soul shall know what it put forward. Each soul shall know what they have done. They will know what they have done. Yani they will know what they have done beforehand. It's even possible for them to know what they have done here in this life, but many people don't want to face the truth. They don't want to look in the mirror and see what is there. But when they die, for sure, they become aware. This is what is narrated from Al-Imam Ali radiallahu anhu, the great elite companion and Muslim, the undisputed Imam and righteous Muslim, one of the 10 who were mentioned in the same hadith that they would be in paradise. This great Muslim, this role model of Islam, this hero of Islam, he said, "An-nasu niyam, wa idha matu, fa idha matu intabahu," which means the people are asleep. When they die, they wake up. And what does that mean? It means that in the state that they're in, the state of illusion and delusion, right as they're living their lives, thinking that there won't be a hereafter, thinking that they're going to go to paradise, thinking that they're accepted by God, thinking that they're good people, thinking that they're on the right path, thinking that there's not going to be any consequences for what they're doing right now, for all the injustice that they committed, for all the forbidden things that they did with their body, for all the forbidden things that they did with their money. They think that it's all a game, or it's all a dream, or it's all entertainment. But then when they die, the reality, it hits them. Yani, when they cross over into the afterlife, and everything would be unveiled for them. But by then it will be too late. And they can't go back and undo anything. They can't repent. They can't make it right. Now they just traveled or passed on to the hereafter with the consequences of their actions. So that's what verse 14 is referring to. It means that every soul shall know the good deeds it made to be documented in its journal that would admit it to paradise, or the bad deeds that would make it deserving of hellfire. May Allah protect us. Ameen. Verse 15, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ, which means, verily I swear by the receding stars. So Allah Ta'ala is swearing by the 5 stars that run their course by receding in their tracks, just as the gazelles recede back in their caves. It's said what is meant by the 5 stars is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Now, of course, the Muslims, they have the proper information about the celestial objects, celestial bodies. So anything that contradicts what is established Islamically about the celestial bodies, about outer space and all that, is rejected. Whatever is contradictory to the Quran, or to the confirmed hadith, or to the consensus of the Muslims, it's rejected. Some others, they said that it's referring to, actually, that's a linguistic thing. And there's a linguistic thing mentioned for Lisan al-Arab, that Khunusha, that is his term in Arabic, is the receding at daylight, and al-khunus is to recede and conceal. Khunusuha is receding at daylight, and al-khunus is to recede and conceal. And that's just a linguistic thing. But like we said, what is narrated from Imam Ali with a Hasan classification, that they are the planets appearing at night and receding unseen at daylight. Verse 16, Al-Jawari al-Kunnas, which means the planets that set and hide. Sometimes you can see a planet in the night sky. Sometimes you cannot. Verse 17, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا عَسْعَسْ, which means that by the night as it fades in and out. Allah swore by the setting in of the night and by its disappearance. Verse 18, وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا تَنَفَّسْ, which means that by the dawn as it breathes. The beginning of daylight. So this ayah, like the ones before, it contains a swear. Allah swears by the dawn and its outspread light. And so the matter that's being sworn about is mentioned in verse 19. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. Good. It means, verily, it is the word of a most honorable messenger. So the revealed terms of the Quran is the utterance of an honorable angel and messenger to Allah, Angel Jibreel, who came down with the revelation on all the prophets, peace be upon them. So of course, these words that we recite, when we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, when we recite these words, obviously they have beginnings and ends, they're letters and sounds. And so obviously those letters that we recite, they are not the attribute of Allah. Allah is not attributed with speaking Arabic. Allah is not attributed with speaking any language, because languages are for creations. Whatever speaks with a language is a creation by definition, because it is a language, words, letters, they have beginning, they have an end, they start, they stop. So whatever is attributed with any of that, then it is a creation, because it's made up of things that have beginnings and ends. So Allah Ta'ala, the words, the whole entire Mus'haf, the words that are recited in the Quran, in their entirety, from Al-Fatiha to An-Nas, in the order that they exist, that we know it today, was inscribed in the guarded tablet. Angel Jibreel, he made a copy from the guarded tablet and brought it down in its entirety to a place called Baytul Izzah. And from there, Angel Jibreel would reveal the verses or chapters that Allah Ta'ala ordered him to reveal to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, how did Angel Jibreel know how to recite those revealed terms? Allah Ta'ala created a sound, a voice, with the recitation of the Quran, from which Angel Jibreel alayhi salam learned, and he in turn taught the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this ayah is a proof for us that Allah is not attributed with words and letters and language. Because in the Quran, it's referring to the Quran, that we recite the revealed terms, that they are the saying, the utterance of an angel. So we can't say that the attribute of Allah is the utterance of an angel. So then of course, that these words and letters that we recite, they are not the attribute of Allah. Allah, clear of the attributes of creations, is clear of being attributed with utterance. The kalam of Allah is eternal and everlasting, not a letter or sound or language. Allah enabled Jibreel to understand the meaning of his eternal speech. Jibreel, at the orders of Allah, came down with the text indicative of the eternal speech. Allah created in the guarded tablet. Jibreel conveyed the text and uttered it to the prophets according to a sound that Allah created. So this is how Angel Jibreel alayhi salam knew how to recite. Verse 20, ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين. ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين. This means an extremely powerful one who is of high rank to the master of the Arsh. Jibreel is extremely empowered to carry out his assignments without weakness or powerlessness. His strength enabled him to wrench out the villages of the people of Prophet Lut and turn them upside down as he was ordered. Jibreel has a very high status to Allah, and Allah Ta'ala is the creator of the Arsh, the master of the Arsh, the one who controls the Arsh, subjugated the Arsh, the throne. Verse 21, مُطَاعٍ ثَمَّ أَمِينٍ. This ayah means obeyed in that far place, entrusted. This ayah refers to Angel Jibreel being obeyed by the other angels in the heavens and is entrusted with bringing the revelation down to the prophets of Allah. So the saying, so the part in the ayah, thamma, refers to the skies. Ibn Hisham said that thamma with a fatha is a name reflecting the faraway place. Jibreel is Amin. That is, he is entrusted with bringing the revelation down to the prophets of Allah. And because Angel Jibreel alayhi salam, he's chosen for that. Next ayah 22. وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونَ. Which means that, O people, this man from among you is not insane. This is connected by conjunction to the matter being sworn about in verse 19. It means, O people of Mecca, unlike the lies the blasphemers fabricate, Muhammad is not insane. Rather, he is truthful, and may Allah reward him greatly for what he gave his nation. Majnoon is the one subdued by jinn, or the one who suffered an ailment in his brain that veils his mind. And so someone crazy, and someone technically insane. Now, of course, that word is thrown around a lot today, but here it's referring to being without the faculty of the mind. So basically it's swearing, emphasizing that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that he's not insane, that he's truthful. Verse 23. وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ بِالْأُفُقِ الْمُبِينِ. Which means that he surely saw him in the clear horizon. This ayah refers to that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam saw Jibreel in his original form having 600 wings. He saw him in the far horizon, al-ufuq al-mubin, from where the sun rises. Verse 24, وَمَا هُوَ عَلَى الْغَيْبِ بِضَنِينٍ. Which means that he certainly does not withhold any of the revelation. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is not a miser in conveying what was revealed to him. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam doesn't hold back or gatekeep any of the revelation. Verse 25, وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَيْطَانٍ رَجِيمٍ. Verse 25, it means, and it is not the word of an accursed devil. Contrary to the false claim of the idol worshippers of Quraysh, the Quran is not the word of one of the devils pelted away with meteors, uttering through the tongue of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So because the idolaters of Quraysh, they were vile and savage people who they had no scruples or integrity, and they would slander the Prophet ﷺ, and they would say things about him that were lies. So among the things that they said about the Prophet ﷺ that were lies is they claimed that what the Prophet ﷺ was reciting was the words of a devil. And we see some people on TikTok nowadays, those who claim to follow Prophet Jesus alayhi salam, they accuse the Muslims of supposedly having verses from the devil in the Quran, and they use supposedly some books that were tainted or poisoned, or that this misguidance was inserted into them, and they attribute that book to a very famous scholar. So beware of that. There is no such thing as a devil speaking on the tongue of the Prophet ﷺ. The prophets are protected from that. The prophets are protected from a devil possessing their body or speaking on their tongue. And the prophets, they never get affected by the devils or by sorcery. And their mind never gets affected, their hearts never get affected. So the Prophet ﷺ, he did not recite any verses from the devil. Na'udhu billah. Whoever says that about the Prophet ﷺ cannot be a Muslim. Whoever says that about the Prophet ﷺ for sure is a kafir, an apostate, or an original non-Muslim. But for sure, this is not part of the Islamic creed, and no scholars or imams ever said that. What actually happened, the incident that happened, is the Prophet ﷺ was reciting the Quran, and the shaitan was near the idol worshippers. When the Prophet ﷺ paused in between verses, the shaitan spoke with his own voice. The devil spoke with the devil's voice. And he recited some things that praised the idols of Quraysh. And he made Quraysh hear that. And those people of Quraysh, they assumed that it was the Prophet ﷺ reciting it. So it's not true what some people say, that the Prophet ﷺ recited verses from the devil. And here we have a proof from the Quran about it. And it's explicitly mentioned in the Quran that the verses that are recited by the Prophet ﷺ, they are not the word of a devil. Number 26. فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Which means, and so where are you going? What other route would you follow except the Quran, which provides the guidance and soundness? Rhetorical question. This ayah shows that the blasphemers strayed by their fabrications about the Prophet ﷺ. One time they attributed to him insanity, another time soothsaying, and other than that, the Prophet ﷺ is clear of their accusations. And the Prophet ﷺ, he is not insane, was never insane. No prophet is insane. And no prophet is involved in soothsaying, because that is an enormous sin. And yeah, it usually contains blasphemy. Verse 27. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Which means, verily, it is a reminder to all the creations. The Quran is truly a preachment for the creation. And any person that's looking for guidance, they can find it in Al-Islam. Verse 28. لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَسْتَقِيمَ. Verse 28 means, for whomever among you wants to straighten up. The Quran is a preachment for those who will to follow the straight path by embracing Islam, and they will indeed benefit from it. As for those who do not embrace Islam, they do not benefit from the Quran. So you have to be a Muslim to benefit for yourself or your hereafter from the Quran. The person can be amazed and be motivated by what he is impacted of the Quran to embrace that Islam, yes. But the person, as long as they don't embrace that Islam and they claim that they follow the Quran or they claim that they have the Quran, they will go straight to hellfire. Because they cannot know the knowledge of the Quran except through the chains of narration. Because who's the one that taught us the Quran? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who was the Quran revealed to? It was revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he's the messenger. We have to go through him. The person cannot cancel out or X out following Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and claim that they're only following the Quran. Because the Quran orders us to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Verse 29, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Verse 29 means, but you shall not will except if Allah, the Lord of the worlds, wills. You shall not will for yourselves to be on the straight path by embracing Islam unless Allah willed that for you eternally. Allah made it known that their being guided to the good ending is only by and in accordance with the will of Allah. In the ayah, Allah mentions specifically one's will to follow the straight path and not one's will to go astray to elucidate the honor of the belief. Allah showed in this ayah that the good the slave does is by the will of Allah and in order to benefit him, and the evil the slave commits is by the will of Allah in order to deprive him. So the good things that the Muslim does is by the will of Allah and in order to benefit that person, and the evil that the slave commits is by the will of Allah in order to deprive him. Yani that he has not been given that blessing of obedience. The fact that Allah controls and changes the hearts of the slaves clearly indicates that Allah is the creator of the actions and the hearts. Likewise, the fact that Allah controls and turns the sights of the slaves clearly indicates that Allah is the creator of the doings of the extremities and other external body organs. Praise be to Allah, the one who guides whomever He willed out of His generosity and makes misguided whomever He willed out of His justice. Hence, the one who attributes the ultimate will to the slaves and not to the Creator, who is the owner of the slaves, is undoubtedly a misguided blasphemer. Muslim narrated that the blasphemers came to debate with the Prophet ﷺ about the qadr, and about the fact that everything that occurs in this universe is by the will of Allah. So Allah revealed in Surah Al-Qamar, verses 47, 48, and 49, إِنَّ الْمُجْرِمِينَ فِي ضَلَالٍ وَسُعُرٍ يَوْمَ يُسْحَبُونَ فِي النَّارِ عَلَى وُجُوهِهِمْ ذُوقُوا مَسَّ سَقَرٍ إِنَّا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَاهُ بِقَدَرٍ. This ayah means the non-Muslims are in a state of misguidance and madness. On Judgment Day, they will be dragged through the fire of hell on their faces and will be told, taste the touch of hell. Verily, Allah created all things in accordance with His decree. Those who say the slave creates his own actions are non-Muslims by the evidence of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the unanimous agreement of the Salaf and the Khalaf. The sayings of those who oppose them do not have any consideration due to the following confirmed saying of the Prophet ﷺ, narrated by Abu Dawood, Al-Qadariyyatu majusu hadhihi ummah. This means those who deny the destiny of Allah are the Majus of this nation. Many scholars of the Salaf pronounce those who deny the destiny of Allah as blasphemers. Among such scholars were the companions Abdullah, the son of Abbas, and Abdullah, the son of Umar, as well as a number of the followers of the companions and their followers. The two great Imams, Imam Malik and Imam al-Shafi'i, explicitly stated that this is a case of blasphemy. Yani, if the person says that something happens in this universe without the will of Allah. Henceforth, it is not permissible to doubt in the blasphemy of the one who says the slave creates his own actions, because, may Allah protect us, they are contradicting the verse of Surah Al-Ra'd, number 16. قُلِ اللَّهُ خَالِقُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, and verse 96 of Surah As-Saffat, وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. And Surah Al-Ra'd, verse 16. The first one we recited, it means, say, O Muhammad, Allah is the creator of everything. And verse 96 of Surah As-Saffat, it means, verily Allah created you and your doings. So this part of the ayah, لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَسْتَقِيمُ, was revealed when Abu Jahl, when this ayah was revealed, Abu Jahl said, we are meant by this ayah. If we will, we follow the straight path, and if we will not to, we don't follow it. So then Allah revealed, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So when لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَن يَسْتَقِيمُ, Abu Jahl was boasting about it and saying this is referring to him, and that if he chooses to follow the straight path, it will happen, and if he doesn't, it won't happen. If he will to follow it, he'll follow it. If he himself wills to not follow it, he won't follow it. And then Allah revealed, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. And so we mentioned that that ayah means that you do not will anything except by the will of Allah Ta'ala. So nothing will occur unless Allah Ta'ala wills for it to occur, and Allah knows best. We'll start with Surah Al-Infitar next time we meet for tafsir and tajweed and recitation. If there are no questions, we'll conclude. I don't have an actual count.
But all planets say stars.
All planets what?
The star.
They call the star, yes. In Arabic.
And the other question is all babies will like a baby or no?
Say that one more time.
All babies who died as a baby, they will like this or no?
No, they'll be resurrected grown up, yes. Grown up.
Is this all people the same age?
In paradise, everybody will be the same age. But when people are resurrected, they're going to have the new body of the hereafter. It's not going to be the same body as it was in this life. طيب. Any others? نهلل لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات بارك الله فيكم السلام عليكم.